Tensions escalating even higher in North Korea as the rogue nation fires off a third missile in 3 weeks.
Conflict in North Korea would be probably the worst kind of fighting in most people's lifetime. It would be a catastrophic war.
The president is vowing to deal with those who are putting our national security at risk by leaking classified information.
It's borderline treason.
You believe it's treason to leak some of this stuff? You believe that?
I do believe it is.
Angela Merkel, she says, look, Germany's on its own. We can't rely on the United States any longer.
There's absolutely no reason for us to be funding the security of a rich country.
What keeps you awake at night?
Nothing. I keep other people awake at night.
Terrifying crash here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Oh my goodness, what a huge crash!
And you believe that driver walked away unharmed. That is a miracle in itself.
Memorial Day for me is a time of reflection where we can honor all those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Marine Drum and Bugle Corps performing America the Beautiful.
We'll bring that to you.
We just like to keep you on edge in the morning.
Right.
Just want to make sure you're awake.
Keep our whole team on edge.
Give you a little tip.
And you know, when you go to your local Memorial Day service, I'm sure not everything will be perfect.
Yeah.
Something will go
live
off,
TV for you.
It's all with the right intentions of love of country.
But we're so happy to be with you all this morning, and we hope you're waking up to a beautiful day.
And you've been sending in your viewer pictures this morning. We asked you to send in pictures of those you wanted to memorialize, family, friends, relatives, neighbors, etc. Raina has sent in one.
Yeah, remembering her uncle, Hugh North, who was killed in action in Okinawa during World War II.
Wow. Deborah sends us this photo of her brother, Major Lewis Smith, who was shot down in Laos during a battle on May 30th, 1968.
And Richmond and Mary remember their son, Lance Corporal Daryl Schumann, who made the ultimate sacrifice in Iraq on January 26th, 2005.
And this was a little personal to me. I want to remember my great-uncle, Clayton Huntsman, who was killed in action during World War II while piloting a P-40 Flying Tiger. And it's funny, he looks a lot like my younger brother, both of them actually, who are in the Navy.
Both serving right now.
Yeah, one is actually a pilot.
So keep sending these photos in, friends at foxnews.com. We love seeing them. We love sharing them. This is ultimately a civic celebration in this country on Memorial Day. We remember these guys and gals and everything they've given.
And their service.
All right, Jillian is standing by with a look at the other news stories making headlines this morning. Good morning, Jillian.
That's right. Good morning to you guys. And to reiterate, thank everybody for their service out there. Let's begin right now with Fox News alert. A Navy SEAL falls to his death when his parachute fails to open, sending him plunging into the Hudson River. Thousands of people watching in horror at a Fleet Week event just outside New York City. His empty parachute landing in a parking lot. Witnesses say the SEAL, diving with the elite Leapfrog group, detached from the chute before crashing into the water. The cause of the malfunction is under investigation. Also breaking right now, erratic North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un's taste for war intensifying overnight. The rogue nation firing off another missile, landing in the waters off Japan's mainland, in the country's exclusive economic zone. The Trump administration ordering a third aircraft carrier strike force and one of the world's largest warships to the Western Pacific region. Did you see this? A terrifying crash on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Caution, turn 2. Trouble, oh my goodness, what a huge crash.
Oh my goodness, it's very hard to watch. Jay Howard smashing into Scott Dixon during the Indy 500. Take a look at this video. Dixon's car going airborne into the wall. Thankfully, both drivers walking away unharmed. And that race giving us one for the history books. Takuma Sato becoming the first Asian-born driver to win. You can see the celebration right there, so big congrats, and once again, just happy everyone is safe. Not everyone destined to be a winner, though. Baseball star Bryce Harper has no problem telling that to a little group of kids.
As much as they might tell you, oh, it's okay, you guys lost it. No, Johnny. No participation trophies, okay? First place only. All right?
The Nationals MVP speaking his mind to a group of kids in Washington, D.C., some of them even clapping for the 24-year-old pro's advice. I can tell you from my years Being in sports, that's always a hot button topic. Everyone is either on one side or the other of that one.
I love it.
Yep.
Very true. Thank you, Jillian.
Yep.
All right, Ed Henry's joining us this morning. Nice to see you on the couch.
Good morning.
You get a participation trophy. Hey, the White House is vowing to crack down President after 9 days in the Middle East and Europe backing in the United States. We're hearing reports that the White House is going to crack down on these intelligence leaks that are coming out of where we don't know.
And they should.
And he was furious, of course, at these leaks about the Manchester bombing that came out. We saw bomb materials published on newspaper front covers as a result of it. Here was what Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly had to say about it. He called it treasonous.
If it came from the United States, it's totally unacceptable. And I don't know why people do these kind of things, but it's borderline, if not over the line of treason.
You believe it's treason to leak some of this stuff. You believe that?
I do believe it is. I believe when you leak the kind of information that seems to be routinely leaked, the high level of classification.
What do you make of this? Where is this coming from, and how should they handle it?
Well, I mean, you know, there have been allegations that might be coming from the intelligence community, could be coming from the FBI, just in general, big picture here, because it wasn't just this leak about the Manchester bombing. It has been leaked transcripts of phone calls between President Trump and world leaders, the kind of stuff that normally does not leak out. Details of, you know, potentially criminal investigations within the FBI that are not supposed to be leaked out. And you have to wonder in the Manchester situation whether this was not just, you know, potentially blowing the investigation, but you also have a situation where people inside the intelligence community who had this information knew that President Trump was on the world stage when the leak came out, the information, and was about to meet with Prime Minister May of the UK. And this was quite embarrassing. The president had to put out a statement. She's mad. She's saying we may have to change our intelligence sharing with the U.S. Bigger picture than about President Trump, though, think about this. The bomber in Manchester was killed. He was basically, we believe, a mule. He went there with these bombs, killed these people, terrible tragedy. But we believe, our intelligence community believes, that there were more people involved, that there's a bomb maker still at large that gave him that material. And so now you leak out this information, it may make it harder for us to catch the actual killers here who mastermind this. How awful is that?
So, but who's leaking this, right? It's the leakers, but then it's the press. It's people that decide that they're given this information from an unnamed source, many times just one source. You remember the days when that would never have flown. That would not have passed. So
we have to make a distinction. Now, you know, the president talks about fake news and leaks involving anonymous sources that are just, you know, parlor games, who's up, who's down, is there going to be a shakeup? That's one thing. What you're pointing to is something much more serious and what Secretary Kelly rightly called treason, which is reporters have to make decisions about information that is actually classified, that could compromise intelligence operations, that could lead to people being killed. That is a much bigger deal than
Newt Gingrich said the same thing, right? I just want to play this because he said it's actually the press cannot be trusted. They're out to hurt the president and this country. Here's what he said.
If I said to you, oh, there's a lion eating a zebra, you wouldn't go, oh my gosh, I thought they'd become friends. How could that lion be eating his friend? You go, yeah, they're a lion. They eat zebras, okay? The left-wing media hates Donald Trump. The left-wing media wants to destroy Donald Trump. This is why they should cancel the daily briefings.
So cancel the daily briefings altogether?
I was trying to keep up lions, giraffes, tigers. I wasn't sure where he was going with that. But in all seriousness, this is
press left-wing. Trump.
This is where I'll push back. Okay, this is where I think you have to make a distinction. I think Newt Gingrich is taking, and others, including Pete, our friend Pete, are taking specific cases where intelligence is being compromised, classified information is being leaked illegally. Okay, and then saying, let's cancel the daily briefing because all reporters are bad. That's what Newt Gingrich is
taking both. I mean, what I think part of
what you're saying,
they're not able to get a hold of the narrative sometimes because the daily briefing is a daily assault on Sean Spicer, trying to get him to trip up. Why submit yourself to a left-wing press corps that wants to bring you down every single day?
Two different issues.
No.
That has nothing to do with classified information being leaked, the law being broken.
They're both bad.
And because of people breaking the law, you can't then say all reporters are bad, all reporters are liberal. Let's just lock them out.
They're saying both. They're saying you got to stop the leaks, but we also shouldn't submit ourselves to a daily barrage of left-wing talking points.
So that's a separate decision, and the administration can make that. We've talked about it on this couch before. I think it'll be a mistake for the White House to do that. Yeah, are there reporters in that briefing room who are out to get the president? Sure. But
are there reporters that aren't?
Yes. Well, John Roberts is fair. There are other
I'm not
John Crowley. I mean, I can name a whole bunch of people. So I just think it's this brush that you're painting that everybody in that room is out to get the president.
Maybe there's a balance. Maybe there's a way for both sides. You know,
yeah, and if the administration wants to have less briefings, that's their choice. It will also hurt them some days because the president will want to talk about tax cuts, and they don't have a briefing that day. That doesn't make sense.
Front page of the New York Times, there's a couple stories about Jared Kushner this morning. Jared Kushner's role in White House under strain reads that headline, and this back-channel discussion with the press, or excuse me, with the Russian government before the election, before the election, during the transition, and we know that this back-channel was never set up, but these attempts to do it. Some on the right are saying, look, there's no difference at all here between what President Obama did in the Iranian deal and Secretary Kerry in those back-channel communications.
Sure, because they were using
a fair comparison?
It can be because they were using a back-channel because we didn't have direct talks with Iran for what the administration thought was a greater good. Let's have a back-channel of negotiations so that we can move the process forward. In this case, the Trump administration could make the case, and we haven't heard everything they're going to say because this is just breaking, that opening a line of communication, back channel or whatever with the Russians could help in Syria, for example. And that is good for the greater good.
Before the election?
Well,
is that a fair comparison?
Well, here's another comparison. What about the election of 2012? Abby was talking about this earlier, where Barack Obama is the sitting president. He's talking to President Medvedev about Prime Minister Putin and saying, hang on a second here. If I get elected, I'll have more flexibility. Tell Vlad, we're going to do this. What was that, back channel, front channel? I don't know, but he was trying to cut a deal there.
How do they get on top of this
what's
narrative?
different?
How do they get on top of this narrative?
Well, he was the president. I guess that's what's different, right? Is that he was president at the time. Right. And a question about 18 months before
But there were back channels in President Obama and other presidents during that period of time, that transition period, after they won, before they were sworn in office.
I think what Clayton is pointing out, though, that is correct, is that at the time of this talk by Jared Kushner in November, December timeframe, President-elect Trump was not yet president. So another factor here is, were those conversations with the Russians undermining of the Obama administration and the United States government that was in place then? That's different than 2012.
Quick logistical question. These leaks, how are they happening? In-person meetings, phone calls, text, emails? How do reporters get this stuff?
People are using all kinds of different apps and things, Confide. You hear all these conversations where it'll disappear so they can give information.
So there's no trace.
There's no trace, number one. Number two, because it's encrypted. And number two, they are also maybe using go-betweens. You hear a lot of conversations about this in Washington where you could then submit to a lie detector test and say, I did not leak that information to this person because maybe you handed it off to a third party.
I think we all need to be asking ourselves right now, what is true journalism today? What do we accept as a source?
It's Ed Henry.
You're right.
The future. I'm filling in for Bill at 9, so we'll talk about this a lot more.
The next 2 hours, we cannot wait for that. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks, Ed. Great to see you.
All right, President Trump sending the world a strong message to fight terror, but what is the mainstream media worried about? A climate change deal? Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North here with the real priorities and the danger of ignoring them. That's next.
But first, the U.S. Marine Drum and Bugle Corps performing Noble Men. Welcome back. On the heels of a terror attack in the UK, a president vowing to beat ISIS and keep us safe from terror. Meanwhile, the left-wing media, however, is horrified by what they feel is the president's failure to recognize climate change. So is this the last thing America should be fighting for, or the first thing in the age of radical Islam? Here to weigh in, Fox News military analyst Ollie North. Ollie, good to see you this morning.
Good to be with you, Clayton. Thank you.
So is climate change the most dire threat facing all of us today, or is it something else?
Well, if you listen to Angela Merkel, she'd say, yeah, it's climate change. But the greatest threat that we face today isn't a melting polar ice cap. It's the existential threat of a nuclear-armed radical Islamic state called Iran and their allies in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
So what can this president do to try to stop that? We've seen the saber rattling even while the president was traveling in the Mideast and Europe. We saw Kim Jong-un firing off repeated missiles, and where they were first duds, it seemed like a few months ago, it seems like they're figuring stuff out.
Oh, they are. There's no doubt about it. They've 9 times already this year and 1 a week now the last several weeks. So, yeah, last night another one.
Right.
Look, the bottom line of all of this, Clayton, is that it's apparently escaped the notice of our intelligence services how the Democratic People's Republic of Korea can afford to build nuclear nuclear weapons and ICBMs in a country where grass is a vegetable? The answer is the Ayatollahs have been paying for the fat dwarfs of Pyongyang's nuclear and ICBM research for years. So the answers: 1, build ballistic missile defense to protect this homeland and start on it yesterday. Number 2, real sanctions against any Chinese, Russian, European, read any business, doing any business whatsoever with Iran and or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. That's the only way you're going to stop it.
And dismantling this nuclear agreement, this Iranian nuclear agreement that President Trump has stepped all over. Defense Secretary James Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, for the first time, we saw a sit-down interview with him yesterday on one of the Sunday shows, and asked whether or not, or what keeps him up at night. Here's how he responded.
What keeps you awake at night?
Nothing. I keep other people awake at night.
Is he the guy to make the changes? Do you buy that?
Well, yes, certainly, but Congress has got to get in the act and start funding these kinds of things. It's great, and Jim Mattis is a remarkably effective Secretary of Defense. We've needed one like this for a long time. The bottom line, however, is that we've got to make sure that those who are supporting this nuclear program, and that includes the Russians and the Chinese, they have got to be stopped. And the only way to do that is to start sanctioning any business, doing any business whatsoever with Iran and or the Democratic People's Republic.
Colonel, great to see you on this Memorial Day. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. Well, he was a member of the Navy's most elite unit, SEAL Team 6, killed in action in Afghanistan. Now his Gold Star mother is keeping his story alive to teach a younger generation about sacrifice. You're going to hear that story next.
All gave some.
Good morning to you. Welcome back to Fox and Friends on this Memorial Day. Some quick headlines. A gunman launches a door-to-door murder rampage, starting with a sheriff's deputy. 36-year-old William Durr shot and killed, responding to a fight between suspect Willie Godbolt and his estranged wife. Godbolt accused of murdering victims at 3 separate homes, only stopping when he ran out of bullets. And 3 slides being closed at a brand new California water park after a 10-year-old boy is launched off a ride and onto the concrete below. The slides manufacturer visiting the Wave today to try to figure out what happened. The incident happening just 90 minutes into opening day. The boy isn't seriously hurt. Abby?
Just glad he's okay. Thank you, Gary. Well, this Memorial Day, a Gold Star mom is remembering her fallen Navy SEAL son, Aaron Vaughn. He was among the 30 Americans killed back in 2011 when their chopper was shot down in Afghanistan. She is now carrying on her son's legacy with her new book, World Changer, A Mother's Story. And Karen Vaughn joins us right now. Great to have you with us, especially on today, which is so important.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
So tell us about Aaron.
So Aaron was the most amazing kid. He was a child who knew exactly what he was created to be. From the time he was 8 years old, he tell anyone who'd listen that one day he was going to be a Navy SEAL, and he overcame unimaginable odds to achieve that dream. But on a personal side, he was just a jokester, a prankster, always making us laugh, just larger than life. He was a kid who believed in people. You know what I mean? He just always he elevated everyone he knew to be a better version of themselves. That's the best way to describe him. He was an incredible human being.
You probably miss that laugh so much.
I miss it. So.
You know, died at the young age of 30, but boy, did he serve this country well. What happened?
On August 6, 2011, Rangers were in a raid about 3.5 hours into a firefight in the Tangi River Valley in Afghanistan. This was just 3 months after we killed Osama bin Laden. So the whole valley was heightened. There was a heightened state of warfare going on there, and they were coming in to assist the Rangers in that raid, 17 U.S. Navy SEALs and 5 SEAL support, and then several other crew members and other special forces. And their chopper was shot down just before they touched down and killed all 30 Americans on board. Largest loss of life in the history of naval special warfare, and still to date, the largest single loss of life in this war.
Unbelievable. Karen, as you mentioned, he knew how dangerous that mission was. Right. He knew what he was doing, and he was proud to do it for this country. And that is what your book is all about, World Changer. Right. I mean, your son had this motivation in him, as you said, at a very young age. But not everyone does, and not every parent knows how to instill that motivation to make their kids strong.
Exactly. When I started putting this book together, I had talked to a couple groups of moms around my area, and I realized realized that the principles that we implemented in our home weren't things that they were familiar with. Some of the key principles that we felt were so valuable, just instilling a real solid sense of discipline and patriotism and love of something greater than yourself. And when I realized that, I thought, I'm gonna write this book about Aaron, and I'm gonna put in the midst of it just hundreds of life lessons, nuggets to moms and dads out there on how to raise kids who believe they can achieve, kids that aren't slackers but achievers, because that's what America was founded on, is people who believed and dreamed and pursued, like you, you know, and that's what Aaron did. And so there are serious ways that you can implement principles in your home that will allow you to raise a child like that. And that's what I want to do with World Changers, just lend my voice to homes across America to raise great kids.
It's patriotism and it's love for this great country that is so important to instill in this next generation. Just quickly, your message. I mean, there's so many moms out there, families that have lost someone they love or are sending out members of their family to go serve. My two brothers are some of them. My mom is probably watching this right now. What's your message today?
My message is be confident in the fact that what your child chooses for their life, they've chosen for a reason. They were created with that instinct to protect and defend. And so I hear a lot of moms say, I'm terrified to let my child serve. And, you know, if not them, who, right? And if not now, certainly when. So don't be terrified. Trust God that this is the path and the course for your child, and believe in their dream, because that's the best way you can be a support system to them.
Well, Aaron would be so proud of you for spreading that message. Go get this book, World Changer. You can see right here. We can put the graphic up so you can make sure you know where to find it. But it's one that you must read, especially on a day like today. Aaron, thanks for your service. Thanks for being here today. All right, well, what better way to symbolize this most important American holiday? Challenger, the American bald eagle, is here. He's been in our green room all morning long, letting freedom ring this Memorial Day next. It is a beautiful bird. And if you're wondering where Steve is this morning, well, he's hanging out on a golf course in Oklahoma for the absolute best reason, and he's got a very special guest with him. Steve, good morning.
Yes, I do, Abby. Welcome to Owasso, Oklahoma. That is Larry the Cable Guy. He has been to all of the Patriot Cups for Folds of Honor, and he's going to do something unique. Remember Major Dan was with us on Thursday talking about how Budweiser has renamed their beer America? Larry is about to tee off from, he just emptied it, by the way. Larry, go ahead.
No, I didn't.
No, you can't drink on TV.
I didn't drink on TV.
We're having some fun. Larry the Cable Guy, a Medal of Honor recipient, and Major Dan Rooney, live from Owasso, Oklahoma for Patriot Cup. Go ahead, Larry. Get it done. Woo!
That is the U.S. Marine Drum and Bugle Corps performing America We.
We're honoring our nation's heroes this Memorial Day with a very special visit from Challenger, the Bald Eagle.
Al Cicerni is the president of the American Bald Eagle Foundation, and he joins us now. Al, great to have you back here.
So, what a beautiful bird.
Yeah.
28 years old. It's hard to believe. You know, you've been on the show, I think, for 10 years with us. You're sharing the story of Challenger. For those of our viewers who don't know the story, how did you come to find Challenger? How was Challenger discovered?
Challenger was blown out of a nest as a baby in a storm at about 5 weeks of age. He didn't have all of his feathers. He wasn't full size. Some people found him. He wasn't injured, but they hand raised him accidentally, and he became what we call a human imprint. So whenever he was released into the wild, he'd always land near people and beg for food. And the foundation acquired him after he had landed near someone the third time, and the government decided that he needed to be used for education and wouldn't survive very long in the wild.
Now, I know that he's eyeing up Pete, because Pete is always around meat.
Yeah, you said no food, and this is the wrong person to sit
No food and no moving your hands. And I'm a hand talker, so it's been dicey.
It's been really difficult for you to talk.
I know.
How do you do that?
I might not talk in this segment, just like this.
It's a hand talker. So what is the message of Challenger on this Memorial Day, and how important is this bird as our national emblem?
Well, you know, today we're kind of honoring the people who fought and died for our country throughout our history, and so many people have given the ultimate sacrifice for defending our freedoms and our rights, and so Challenger's here to symbolize that effort. And
what can he do? I mean, some pretty cool stuff. Stadium flights.
Yes, Challenger flies into stadiums during the Star Spangled Banner. He's the first eagle in U.S. history to do that, and so he's got a special niche in American Eagle history, you might say.
How much does he weigh?
He weighs about 6 pounds.
6 pounds. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful bird. I've never seen Pete so still in my entire life. I really haven't. This is amazing. Can we have you on all the time?
I'm mesmerized. No, when's the last time you were a foot away from a bald eagle and staring you in the eye?
In the commercial break, to be fair, Challenger did slap him in the back of the head with his wing.
We're also here to talk about American Eagle Day, which is an effort that the Foundation's been involved in for over a decade. And we've been getting resolutions passed by the U.S. Congress for, going back to 2007. We've got 49 governors on board across the state and across the United States. And so we're right now trying to get a U.S. president involved in declaring American Eagle Day to make it a final thing so it'll be celebrated every year on June 20th.
President Trump is watching this morning. We can get on board with that.
Hey,
Al, great to see you.
Challenger, you want to read the tea? You want to read the tea? No. Well, Memorial Day
a Challenger voice,
is a time to remember our fallen heroes and the sacrifices they've made for our freedoms.
It is for that reason that the Folds of Honor Foundation created the Patriot Cup Championship, which helps raise money for scholarships given to children and spouses of fallen or wounded servicemen.
That is right. Our own Steve Doocy joins us now from the event in Owasso, Oklahoma, with the founder of Folds of Honor, Major Dan Rooney, and Larry the Cable Guy. I know you thought that was the most patriotic place, but we've got a bald eagle on the couch, so we're competing with you today.
It's right up there. I'll tell you what, though. Larry the Cable Guy would say, never in show business should you ever follow children or animals, and you're following the eagle.
No, you should never do that. You should never do that. Hey, bud, it's good to be on. I love this. Look at this, y'all. This is the Mr. Roper look. He's got on the Mr. Roper outfit today.
Three's Company. Dan Rooney, it must be great that you've got celebrities like Larry the Cable Guy. Showed up at the gala last night, although he's been coming to gala for years. And as it turns out, he was a fantastic auctioneer. He auctioned off the tuxedo, the camo tuxedo I was wearing.
I know, for $6,000.
$11,000.
To Brent Burns, who's going to be the MVP of the NHL.
Yeah.
And what people don't know is I bought it 3 years ago on eBay, so we can't get another one.
Oh, boy. Let's just hope he's not watching. Have your wife get a sewing machine and make one just like it. Larry, what is it about Folds of Honor that makes you want to be here for this event year after year?
Well, it's an unbelievable cause. I mean, to send kids of fallen soldiers to college, and I mean, it's just, you got up and you heard the stories last night of people, and the one girl got up and talked about how Folds of Honor changed her life. I mean, it's just amazing, and it's just such a cool event. I mean, this is one of those events that you want to be a part of so bad to help out. But it's just great. I mean, and on Memorial Day, I mean, if it wasn't for the vets doing what they did, we wouldn't be able to be out here because there's a lot of evil in the world and they're fighting it back.
Amen to that, brother.
So we appreciate it. We love coming down here. And honestly, if you said that banquet last night and you didn't have a couple tears coming out, then you're not human, that's for sure.
That's right. And Dan, I didn't realize that there are so many needy families out there who simply, for one reason or another, do not qualify for regular scholarships.
Yeah, and it's amazing statistics, Steve. There's about 1.5 million dependents now that have had someone either killed or disabled just in Iraq and Afghanistan. Nearly 9 out of 10 get no federal education assistance, and that is where Folds of Honor steps in. Over 13,000 scholarships awarded since our inception 10 years ago. And unfortunately, despite a record year, we'll put about $15 million out this August. There are millions in unfunded requests. So freedom is not free, and that's why we're here over Memorial Day to help raise funds and ensure we don't leave a family behind on the field of battle.
Absolutely. And without giving out a name, earlier this morning, watching you on Fox and Friends, there was a donor, a large donor, who saw the appearance where you talked about how you're trying to put a lot of spouses and children of fallen warriors to college, and they were so moved, they wound up writing you a big check this morning.
They did. They saw our first segment and pledged $100,000, which more importantly is 20 scholarships that will go out the door in August. And just it speaks to the power of the Fox Nation. It really does, and how truly patriotic they are, and how we all want to say thank you for our freedoms, especially on Memorial Day.
Sure. And Larry, one of the things about Folds of Honor is I think it's about 86% of every dollar you pledge winds up going directly to the family.
And that's the cool thing about the charity, the foundation. You know, you get some of these charities and they get 400 employees and they give themselves 7% goes to the charity. But that's the cool thing. You know, when you give your money, it's definitely going to a kid.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to do something right now. You know, Budweiser has now called their beer America. It's in camo green. Now, Larry, go on over. We're gonna.
Oh, your beer fell down.
Oh, doggone!
Hey, let me just tell the crew in the studio. You do know the only reason people are tuning in is because of Abby Huntsman, not because of you two guys.
It is Memorial Day, and one of the featured speakers last night was Medal of Honor recipient Leroy Petrie, right there. Leroy, it's great to have you. All right, and he's going to take part. We're going to have a ceremonial first tee off. All right, guys, go ahead.
And I love it, Steve, as we take our places. Budweiser's donating $1 million this Memorial Day weekend to fund scholarships at Folds of Honor. All right. And formation takeoff for the team.
This isn't very easy, by the way.
In honor of God and country, Steve, are you going to call it off?
Sure. All right, everybody in 3, 2, 1. Did anybody's beer still stand? Nope!
They're all down.
Mine went the furthest.
Wait a minute. Leroy, your ball's right there and his beer is gone.
It's a holiday weekend. Smart move. All right, Leroy, thank you very much.
Well done.
There you go. And Larry the Cable Guy. Hey, folks, if you would like to help, and I know millions of you are watching on this Memorial Day, foldsofhonor.org. What a great way to spend Memorial Day 2017. We're going to actually have the kickoff in 90 minutes. Major Dan, thank you very much.
Yeah, God bless America, especially all those families and those service members who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. May we never forget. And that's why we're here today in Owasso, Oklahoma, the most patriotic place in America.
All right, there you go. Clayton and Pete and Abby, back to you.
And you got to get these back to the man.
Great sleep.
Well done.
Thank you, guys.
He looks pretty good. He said he was a rookie, but he looks good.
I think he's tricking us.
Off a beer can.
All right, coming up here on the show, Democrats suffered major losses in the last election. So what's their solution for the next campaign? Recruiting veterans to run for office. So will that help? We're going to ask a retired Navy SEAL turned lawmaker. That's next.
Welcome back. Well, they suffered major losses in the last election. Now, Democrats' solution for the next campaign, recruiting veterans to run for office.
But with 99 veterans in Congress, 73 of those 99 are Republicans, and 26 are Democrats. Will this plan really help improve the Democratic image? Let's ask former Navy SEAL and current Virginia Congressman Scott Taylor. Congressman, thanks for joining us this morning. So, right now, the
Republicans. Morning, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well, and I know you appreciate this Memorial Day as much as we do. Thank you for your service and for all the men that you served alongside who are not here with us. I know you think about them today, as do we. But on the political side, Dems want to take back the House, and they think recruiting veterans to run as Democratic candidates in the House improve their chances. What do you make of that strategy?
Well, obviously, veterans aren't monolithic. You know, we have Democrats and Republicans. We tend to be conservative. I think the strategy is it's a decent one. I hope that Rep. Moulton is out there recruiting primary candidates as well for Democrats. You know, obviously, as you very well know, Pete, that people are veterans. They tend to want to get things done. They don't really care where you come from, who you love, what color you are. It doesn't matter. If there's something that needs to get done, they get it done. So I'd love to see more veterans in general in Congress. I don't think the strategy is necessarily a bad one. I think it's a good one, but I hope he's also recruiting for primaries. And I'm recruiting veterans as well, too. So call me. Call me if you're a veteran.
Well, and you want that reason to be genuine first and foremost, right? Because, of course, we don't want our military to be necessarily one side or the other, but you want all of the reasons to be very genuine. Why is it that our military has been more attracted, for the most part, to the Republican Party?
I would probably strong defense, of course. They tend to be fiscally conservative. They tend to be independent thinkers, of course. I think, I serve my district, have the honor and the huge responsibility of serving the congressional district with the most veterans in active duty of anyone in the nation. And they tend to be independent-minded, but they certainly lean to the right. And they're not overly partisan. They don't like to bicker back and forth about dumb stuff, dumb partisan stuff. They like to get things done, and that's why I'm here.
History repeats itself, Scott. The Democrats tried the same thing in 2006. They were called the Fighting Dems. They recruited veterans to run for office. But is not the Democratic platform so far left? Are a lot of veterans going to feel like they're a little bit out of touch?
I would definitely say in general that you have a good point there, that that the Democrat Party has moved to the left, and I would certainly venture to say that probably the vast majority of folks who are in the military do not agree with that platform.
Yeah, well, we need more people like you in office. As you said, it's not about the bickering and the politics, it's about getting things done, and that's what this country needs.
Absolutely. Scott Taylor, thanks a lot for your service and for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Happy Memorial Day to everyone.
Likewise. Thank you. All right, they are the greatest generation, and one teenager is on a mission to make sure their stories, the stories of World War II veterans, that they never fade away. Now he's traveling the country to document their experiences. This is an interview you are not going to want to miss. Next.
I can't wait for that.